Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this November 25th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Great Falls Public Schools. Welcome. And as a reminder, by Montana law, we are required to record these meetings, and they will be then posted on our website in about 2 weeks' time. So just be informed that this meeting this evening and subsequent meetings of the school board will be recorded. Mr. Patrick, roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Excused.
Here. Here.
I'm present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Trustee Bronson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Tarosky.
I move that we approve the agenda as it presented.
second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. Are there any questions or commentary from our Board of Trustees? Any questions or commentary from our gallery here with us this afternoon? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda from which to work. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Finicum.
I would move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Are there any questions or comments from our trustees?
Just a notation to thank the donors for donating welding supplies to our school district.
Very generous and a sizable contribution at that. Very nice. Any other comments or questions from our trustees? Or from our gallery here with us? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Communication, character strong, West Elementary School. Mrs. Mainwaring, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Johnson, members of the board, Superintendent Hoyer, and members of the community. It's my pleasure to introduce students from West Elementary this evening to visit with us about what they've been learning in Character Strong this month. Mrs. Stoltz, you want to bring your kids up?
Excellent.
They're pretty nervous.
You got it. You got it. Okay.
You got it.
Okay, I am the proud principal at West Elementary, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you our November Hall of Fame award winners for Character Strong and the character trait of gratitude. They have all come today with something prepared that they would like to tell you that they are grateful for. And then they have prepared something to present to the board. I do want to say that this is something different that our administrative intern came up with this year to have every teacher make a nomination who they think a student from their class has been that has really exhibited the character strong traits of the month. And then it is voted on. I hand selected these Hall of Famers for the month because I think that they show great character and they set great examples in our school. So we're going to start with 6th grade. Simone, come on up. Just go ahead and say
I'm grateful for my mother because she's always taking care of me and working super hard.
Okay, 5th grader.
I am Jenna and I'm grateful for my teacher because a smile. I'm Carter, and I'm grateful for the my family. They've been there for me, and they've supported me throughout my life. My name is Matthias, and I'm grateful for my mom. My name is Maddox, and I am grateful for school.
Before they give you something that they created, just something that I want to say that I am so proud of these kids and I am grateful for you. Kids like you make it so easy to do my job, and I'm super proud of you guys. A really important lesson that I like kids to know at West and everywhere, that even when the going gets tough and life is hard, um, focusing on what you are grateful for is what can get you through those hard times. And so these kids sat in the conference room with me today at school, and we had a really mature, grown up conversation about being grateful and what they were grateful for and why that's important. And all of these kids show gratitude, and I am so proud of them.
Wow. What do we have here?
Lovely.
This is
A gratitude
wonderful.
tree.
Thank you.
So each student made a gratitude leaf, and they hand colored and hand wrote the names of the school board members and added it to the West Character Strong gratitude tree. Thank you very much, school board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are very grateful for your presentation and for taking time to join us. Come around and shake our hands if you'd be so kind. Well done. Thank you. Good work. That wasn't so scary. It wasn't too bad.
Nice job. Way to be brave.
Be brave is right.
Thank you
Here.
so much. Good job. Good job. Way to be brave.
And Mrs. Hoyer, can we find a place to display this item up here?
Absolutely. We'll find a
I'd like
place
to
to
share
display
this
that.
with many, many people. Yes.
Absolutely will.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to communication, item B, superintendent's report, Mrs. Hoyer.
Well, thank you, Chairman Johnson, members of the board, and members of the community. Guys, if you need to go home, because I know this is a late night and it's cold and the roads could be bad, please, I'm not going to be offended at all if you need to sneak out. So thank you for being
Good
here.
night. Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
Yes.
guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
You guys are very, very much appreciated.
Oh, oh, oh.
Thank
guys.
you.
Great job.
Was their gallery.
I got Tom.
You got Tom left.
Hi, gallery.
Yeah, it is.
They were wonderful. And thank you. Let's look us in the eye.
Nicely done.
And so thank you for always doing that for your kids at West. To my report this evening, I do have a couple of things to draw to your attention. First of all, Mr. Decons thought he would get out of here without saying, or me saying this, but I believe on Friday he is turning 5 years now, something like that. So happy advanced birthday, Mr. Decons. Remember to be extra careful when you're eating your lunch. And I told him he could be gone. So the fact that he was here, I just know it's a long time between Friday and our next board
Happy
meeting. So
birthday.
I wanted to tell
Happy
him happy
birthday.
birthday. Also, at your spots, there are two documents that I wanted to provide to you. There is a copy of the summary of the listening sessions that Jackie did email you, but it was a lot to photocopy or to print off at home, so we went ahead and provided a copy to you. And then I also gave you a copy of a lot there. And so I wanted you to be able to have that so you can circle and mark and underline, highlight any of those amazing music concerts that you're going to be going to. So with that, we will get started. Winter activities started today, really. In fact, basketball tryouts, wrestling tryouts, swimming tryouts, those are all up right after that. There's no rest for our weary swimming coaches as they go ahead and then run until mid March. Middle school volleyball will be starting right after the holidays. And then, of course, speech and debate, which started October 1st and it runs until the 1st of February. It's the longest of all of our MHSA seasons, I do believe. But I didn't announce its start, so I wanted to be sure to include that as well. Busy, 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 but we hope to see many of you at some of these events and watch our young athletes participate and compete and very proudly wear their school colors. So the next slide, these are some individuals who are representing our district. Becky Nelson is never resting. She always seems to be going, getting our staff and students out there for. So on the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see our radio rock stars. These are our peer mentors from North Middle School who met with our local radio stations to talk about the important work that our peer mentors do within their school. We do have our Aragon Art Show that's up at the college. If you haven't had an opportunity to walk through there, please do. It goes until December 10th, and there's some fantastic artwork. I wasn't able to make opening night, so I actually took a coffee up there the other night and walked and looked and had a lot of time to just look at all the amazing work and the hard work that our students have done under the tutelage of their teachers. And then Truro, Montana, their MedAchieve, their semester one graduation was last week. And here we have the director from Truro that was helping us with our MedAchieve, as well as a student from CMR in the lower right-hand corner. So thank you to Becky Nelson, but thank you to our teachers and students just as much for always putting themselves out there, much like our students from West, and representing our district in the very best way possible. Here we go with the Pirates of Penzance. It's coming up next week. We're really excited about this. At CM Russell High School. Opens December 5th, runs all the way until the 14th, with the two matinees on the 7th and the 14th. One of the reasons I wanted to show this, though, is that I want you to see how quickly Dusty Molyneux and his music crew shift gears. So they will literally go from the 14th with a musical to, if you go to the next one, Sherry, this. For the month of December, this is all the magic that happens. And if you ever really just want to feel good about things that are happening in our schools, the holiday concerts are such a great time to do that. On the left-hand side, those are all of the GFPS schools. It's very condensed. It doesn't break it down too much by grade level or for specific times. The middle are the elementary by grades and schools. And then on the right-hand side, those are our middle schools and high schools by groups. But there's some really cool, fun things that are going to happen between now and when we take our holiday break. So I would encourage you once again to get out and catch those music concerts. There's a special place in heaven for elementary music teachers, and but it's so much fun to watch them just really enjoy the work that their kids have done. So I'd encourage you to join me. we have a very, very generous community. And this is just one group that I wanted to highlight. Next month, I'll give you a rundown of all of the different businesses and the things that they have done for us over the holiday season. But this is Flying S Title Company, and they partnered with the realtors from Great Falls, and they donated 1,400 pairs of socks for students during what they now call Socktober. So Becky Nelson got together, she sorted them by size, and she got them out to the schools so we can be sure that we get them in the hands of the kids as they're getting ready to put on their galoshes and their winter boots and we head into our colder months. So a special thank you to that generous community. And last meeting, I talked about the All for Him church group that came forward with all of the boxes of Thanksgiving meals. You might have seen today on Facebook Live and then some posts that Becky did, but those were actually collected by our buildings and grounds folks and delivered to the schools. And so it's just been a season of giving, and we can't thank our community enough. But from socks to turkeys, we have it all being given to our schools, and we sure appreciate them. This action steps that we have done. If they're green, they've been accomplished, so they're highlighted in green. If they're yellow, they're in progress, and if they're white, we haven't even started yet. So you can see that much of the work for this year has already been started, and we're starting to see green pop up on our one-pager strategic plan, which I'm really proud of the work that this team is doing. Just for feedback, some insight from district leaders, and all groups came together for student achievement. Some of the comments that came forward. Fine arts, Mr. Molyneux shared that he has monthly department meetings focused on reviewing curricular areas. As a group, changes for improvement. For Healthy, Safe, and Secure Schools, Andrea Savage shared her progress for her peer mentor project, actually becoming a credit-bearing class at CMR in Great Falls High. Joe reported 90% parent participation in their fall parent-teacher conferences, and they've had 35 different community guests attend their Veterans Day lunches that were not parents. and students participated in the listening sessions this last fall, and 3 principals and 12 part of the running doc. The healthy, safe, and secure schools. I wanted to dive into that just a little bit. We believe you'll find the handwritten or the typed information from our executive directors. Um, Threats and intimidation have increased a little. Last year we were at 32. This year we're at 48, but our fights are significantly down. Last year we were at 41. We were at 107. A remainder of the goal, or a reminder that we are calibrating the level, what really is the behavior. We strongly think that character strong and RCD is helping us de-escalate students before they ever get to that fight level, and that the healthy, safe, secure schools for us, for our data for the day. And finally, our listening session summary and the key takeaways, and then the steps for analysis and action. And once again, you do have those summaries on your tables. But our key takeaways was community buy-in is essential for any financial strategy, especially as it relates to supporting increased funding and engaging in grassroots advocacy efforts within the community. Teacher retention and support must remain a top priority as it's directly tied to educational quality and long-term sustainability. Alternative funding sources should be explored more intensively to reduce reliance on traditional tax models and adapt to shifting financial realities. And finally, clear communication was another one that trickled to the top around, and that's communication around the budget, its impact on education quality, and the need for the community support, which can mitigate misunderstandings and it can foster additional trust. So we are looking forward. We have some really good information that came out of those listening sessions from our community. And with that, that is just a snapshot of the amazing happening in the districts.
Thank you, Mrs. Hoyer. Any questions for our superintendent this evening? I've had no requests to speak to us from the community, so we're going to move right on into action items. Action item A, Lincoln Elementary School alarm upgrade. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson and members of the board. What you have before you is a Lincoln Elementary School fire alarm upgrade. Lincoln was built in 1951. In 2021, we added an external that school, but the systems don't talk to each other, with each of the systems. So what you have before you is just a request to do a school fire alarm, excuse me, upgrade. GPD, one of our IDIQ vendors, will do this work for us, get it ready to put out to bid, and then I'll come back to you with the bid amounts. High estimate for the project would be $140,000, but your approval tonight will allow us to start on this process. And one of the things that Brent Cutler, Jack Norris, and myself have done is just outlined all the schools and all the ones that need some sort of work. And rather than having 6 come in 1 year, we'll strategically do 1 to 2 per year and get them all to where they need to be. And just have to realize that a lot of our buildings were built in the 70s and even the 50s. And fire alarms and alarm systems and intercoms back in those days probably didn't have the expectations that we have today of hearing them in the hallway and things like that. And a lot of our intercom systems need a lot of TLC. They work for a while, and then they need to be more TLC given to them. So that's another part of the strategic plan of what we'll be working on. So my recommendation tonight is to allow for the Lincoln Elementary School fire alarm upgrade to begin the process of putting bids together.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Skonogoski.
I move that we advertise for the fire alarm bids to upgrade the Lincoln Elementary School fire alarm system.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the advertising for fire alarm bids to upgrade the Lincoln Elementary School fire alarm system. Any questions, commentaries from our trustees? Any questions, commentary from our gallery? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Let's move on to action item B, which is financial report and check register for October 2024. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. What I brought for you tonight is I returned your budget books. I've made the adjustments to it. If you just turn into the very first page, there's one page that talks about the taxable valuation adjustment, what it was, and then what pages were affected. So those have all been updated, and you have that for a reference as to which ones were changed. So hopefully that'll be helpful to you, and thanks for getting your books back to me. And I'd like to thank the Print Center. They cranked it out this afternoon because we had all the pages ready, and they had to open up your old books, insert the new pages, and Patty and her staff did a great job.
And thank you for your work on this, and we're happy to have our revised books back.
Um, in the agenda packet, you have the October financials, and I just want to highlight, if you go to the very first page, where it's the elementary general fund and the high school general fund, and a lot of times I'll get questions of why do you need reserves and why are they so high? And if you just look at the elementary general fund and go over to the YTD column, which is year to date, you can see in the elementary general fund, the revenue, the money that's coming in, there's $8,799,478.07. And then if you go down to the expenditure side of that, to date, we've spent $10,538,000. So the revenue, the reserves is that cushion of money so that we can pay our bills, because really we have 2 big paydays during the year. One is in December and the other is in May when people pay their taxes. And so I think a lot of times there's this false illusion of reserves and, well, let's just use that money. And really it's for cash balance to pay the bills while we're waiting for our big paydays. So, and with that, you have the October financials. And my recommendation, we are where we need to be this time of year. It's still early in the year. We haven't had any extreme expenses. So my recommendation is to approve the financial report and check register for October of 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Turoski.
I move that we accept the monthly financial report and approve the register of payments for October 2024 as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the monthly financial report and approve the register of payments for October 2024. Any questions or commentary from our Board of Trustees? Any comments, questions from our gallery? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Patrick, for your work on this. Action other, there was nothing taken away from the consent agenda that enables us to move ahead to reports, discussion, and policies. A, 2025 school election calendar and trustee filing timeline. Mr. Patrick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The trustee filing timeline is December 12th through March 27th. And our next meeting's on the 16th of December, so I always preview it saying that people can file on the 12th. This year we have 3 open positions. Our rotation goes 3 trustees, and 1 trustee. There are 3 this year. It's Gordon Johnson, Mark Finicum, and Paige Tarosky. Just to note that we're a first-class district, so anybody who files has to fill out a CA1 form with the Commissioner of Political Practices as part of the process. And just a couple highlights in the calendar. We'll go through this in more detail as the months follow, but by February 25th, the board must call for a resolution for an election. That'll include the date of the election, the purpose, whether it's a mail or poll ballot, and the voting locations. April 3rd at 5 o'clock is the last day that any candidate can withdraw from the election. It's also the deadline for write-in candidates. By April 4th, the trustees must pass a resolution stating an exact levy amount so it can be put on the ballot. We usually handle that in the last meeting in March rather than waiting until the 4th to do that. And then March 27th through April 26th, the notice of election is posted. The county elections office does that. Between April 16th and April 21st, the ballots are mailed out. The county elections office prepares that, sends them out. And then May 6th is the election day. And the OPI information, or OPI, there is OPI information in the packet that both cites laws as well as any forms that go along with each item. So it's pretty extensive, and you can see by the screen up there, there's links. So you can click on the law if you're interested in more information, learning more, and if there's any forms involved, that's included as well. So it's very shortly election season, and then that'll be on us until May 6th. So here we go. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. It's sort of horrifying to hear about another election season. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Now, moving on to, thank you again. It's very impressive. Love those kids. Reports, discussion, and policies. Item B, first reading of deleted, new, and revised board policies. And I'll hand it over to you, Mrs. Hoyer, at this point.
Strategic plan initiative was to do principles to policy. And it started the last meeting where we had 3 principals. We had Mr. Hobble from Great Falls High, Mrs. Heinzelman from Riverview, and Mrs. Dyke from Valley View. And then we also had 12 members of the JROTC, 12 student cadets here, because one of the things they have to do for their classes, they have to see some type of policy meeting. So they joined us. So we had a very full house for this open meeting, and it was actually, I kind of liked it.
Sort of stimulating, yeah.
And it was kind of fun. We had MCA and ARM up on the screen as we were walking through. The hope and goal of this is that our principals, and in this case the students as well, get to see the connection between when legislation is passed, when MTSBA gives us guidance, and then it trickles down into board policy, how we put that into action in our schools. But also the regular cycle of renewal for policy changes that happen on a regular basis, so we keep our policies fresh and updated. And so we're looking forward to this and continuing to invite our principals to come to policy as they are able to do so. But with that, we have a long list of ones. I'm going to just go over them briefly with you that we went through and addressed. So the first one is 1610. With 1610, this is for the Board of Trustees goals and objectives in the integrated action plan. You'll only see one main change, and that's line 38, letter F. This was added per state law in that our new non-resident student admission must be reflected in the integrated action plan or the strategic action plan. So we just updated the language to be sure that it is reflecting the expectation of the law. You'll also notice that there were a couple of minor changes to that, some updates with policy numbers that Allie added, as well as MCA on the second page. Policy 2162P replaces what we had as 2162R, or it replaced 2162P and incorporated into 2162R. And this was a massive change that actually brings our policy up to date for Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It had not been updated since 2001. Executive Director Lance Boyd, I think, was about ready to, I don't want to say have a heart attack, but he was getting a little nervous that we were so far out of date. And we finally got the guidance to allow us to bring this all into alignment with both state and federal law. So that's a heavier read because it has all changed for you for next time. Then moving on to 2320. 2320 really, you'll see some changes in wording that makes this policy more consistent with practice. In lines 15 and 16, it gives clarity to our principals that they need to be sure they are receiving advanced approval from the board for trips, field trips that take students out of school for 2 or more days total, if it's in state and out of state, and then anytime they cross state lines and they're taking a group of students out of state. You'll also notice that Allie updated for us line 41, and that is the MCA, the parental involvement in education that is applicable to the updates in this policy. 3630, we know that we may be revisiting cell phones and other electronic equipment after the legislative session, as rumors have it that there are some bills that might be proposed about cell phones. But until then, we added lines 28, 29, and 30 because it provided for flexibility for unique situations. And this was something the students gave us some really good insight on. They wanted to be sure that their peers, who the two examples that we used were, one, there's some type of emergency that's happening on the home front and students need to have their cell phone with them. So should a phone call come in, that the teacher allows the student to take the phone call in private out in the hallway. Or two, it's a student who may, for example, be diabetic and may be monitoring their blood sugars and their levels on their phone. So that allows for that flexibility. We also put in there that lines 8 and 9, we moved them up at the top, you'll see, because we wanted to lead with the belief statement that we do as a district believe that the unauthorized use of cell phones and or other electronic devices does disrupt the instructional programming of the students and it distracts from learning. Updated language for clarification and then also to fix a typo. So number 11 was the updated language clarification. And then line 36, we had a filed trip versus a field trip. So we caught that and fixed that one as well. And then 5430F brings our volunteer agreement form really into a consistent practice with human resources. Volunteer is certifying to the best of their knowledge that there's no reason that they can or should be around or should not be around children, and that they have not been convicted of criminal offenses other than minor traffic violations. And so just brings that into alignment with some of our hiring practices. You'll also notice on the second page of that, lines 13, 14, and 15, that was when we moved that up to the front or the beginning, those initial statements that took the place of those. And then the last one is 8132. This removed what I would say is fuzzy language. I know that's not a technical term, but fuzzy language, and it really clarified that the board will not approve district-owned buses or vehicles to be loaned or leased to non-school groups versus the may not. It allowed that clarification so it doesn't get you guys in a jam between who do we lend it to and who do we don't lend it to. Policy for your perusal before the next board meeting.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the trustees who serve on that committee. It's a lot of work, all very important. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to reports, discussion, and policies C, discussion, committee reports, and comments. So we'll start with you, Mr. Bronson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to note again, thanks to Director Mainwaring and the rest of the staff for compiling all that information from our listening sessions. I printed it all off this afternoon, so that's my heavy reading later this evening. But it is always helpful when you're there participating. You don't get a chance to take your own notes, and so I'm glad that somebody is compiling that data because it was all very useful as far as I was concerned, and I look forward to reading it. Also, if you did not watch the Think Tank Thursday last Thursday, or you've not had an opportunity to review the video from the program of the 21st, please do so. It was very, very informational for me. I'm glad to see that between the governor and the legislature and the interaction with MTSBA, we seem to be on the right track toward at least some good fixes for the interim before we do the decennial study with respect to school funding. Again, lots of detail. It gets into the weeds a lot, but I think that Lance and Emily did a very good job outlining the proposed changes. And so it'll be nice going into the session knowing that we have a lot of people working on this particular issue and that we all seem to be on the same page. That's all I have.
Very good. Trustee Skonogoski.
So I missed our last board meeting because I had parent-teacher conferences. So I have a few things to mention. One is that I had the opportunity to observe armed intruder training. I'm not going to say participate because that that would be exaggerating what I was doing. But it was very interesting to me. I had the opportunity to attend armed intruder training in its previous model, which was something that we were doing before COVID, and definitely the adjustments made, I think, were a good call. It's a little bit less intense, less physical for starters. We had folks that were being injured previously in the training, so I think that was kind of a must to make those tweaks. But I also think it's really important that the instructions to the teachers and administrators, really provided some steps for what comes after this. So it's not just a one-off. How do you take this training and execute it with your students in a way that will help students and hopefully empower students, as opposed to um, frankly traumatize students. But our teachers were learning, um, how how to turn a garbage bag into a tourniquet. And I think that that's something. I know that's not something that they necessarily thought of when they first went to school. First, their first day of college. That wasn't something that they really thought of as part of the job. So I think that there's going to be some ways that we as a board, um, will need to potentially find some funding sources to help secure our schools, and that's something that I know Brian and Lance are working on. Trying to come up with some ways that we can better secure our schools. So I guess just a heads up that I think that there's some things coming that could come to our level that way. For the listening sessions, I had an opportunity to attend 3 of the listening sessions, one of my big takeaways. There was a different teacher in every single one of my sessions, and each of those teachers shared examples of how the budget cuts were impacting what they could do in their classrooms. We had teachers who were one of the teachers was just a second year teacher, and she was so excited. She'd had all this training and was so excited to put some of these ideas into her classrooms. But the school didn't have the budget for paper for these projects. So I really think when we look at these really big numbers, it's hard to imagine that as it trickles down, to our classroom level, that budgets are really that tight already. So I think that was a really important takeaway, and that honestly, it's a heavy weight that's on our teachers and on our administrators, knowing that these big budget cuts are coming. I also did my 4 hours of from the convocation raffle drawing. And so I got to work for Lance for 4 hours, going through the federal forms that every student has to fill out to figure out if they're a military child or live in HUD housing. And you literally have to go through page after page after page for every single student. For starters, the 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 secretaries are wrangling these up to make sure that everyone gets turned in. So that's a massive undertaking. But then staff here has to go through those forms to weed out the ones of students who are living on base or in HUD housing, and it's quite an undertaking. I think we did 3 schools in 4 hours for just that element of the of that undertaking. And the last thing I wanted to say is that I've had the opportunity to attend a city commission meeting, a county commission meeting, and a library board meeting in the last month or so. And I just want to say thank you to everyone on this board. I just really appreciate that all of you bring different perspectives to this work, but also that you're all very kind and respectful, and I think we try to follow our students' lead in Character Strong. So I just really want to thank you all for being just such a functional and respectful board.
Well, thank you, Trustee Turovsky.
Not too much. Just gonna touch on the policy meeting that Superintendent Hoyer mentioned. I liked having the principals there. I think that they gave good insight into how the policies are applied at the school level by the building administrators. I thought that was cool, and then I really liked the ROTC students as well. Thought they had some good input from the student perspective, and I liked hearing them, have their input and say what they enjoyed from the meeting as well and what their takeaways were. And so I maybe in the future we can continue to have different groups there. That's pretty much it.
Good, thank you, Mr. Finnegan.
I'm just going to reiterate a couple things that I've already heard, and I'll make it brief. The Character Strong is obviously working. And
Yeah.
it's so fun to see the kids
Yeah.
doing that, and that they're coaxed from the earliest grades
Yeah.
to come do that, which is neat. I appreciated Lindsay for actually coaxing the kids on how to do that, and I know she's gone through it this afternoon. The Hall of Famers, I get a kick out of that. Thank you for a reminder for me to call my convocation person that I'll do. And then lastly, I actually had it written down to thank the cabinet, to thank the board, to thank the staff for all of what happens in Great Falls Public Schools. I know this is a great week to be thankful, but we are thankful always. And I
Indeed.
get to watch all those meetings. No, I don't. On Facebook and all the comments afterwards. Oh my Lord. Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Thompson.
I would like to thank you for the quarterly strategic plan report. Um, I think that especially showing the colors really helps to show the transparency of the school district. And I mean, if we had more people out in our audience to see it, but it is out on our website, so people can watch. And I just think that that really does show the progress that we're making throughout the year and that we're sticking with our plan. And so I appreciate that. And I loved hearing that we're thinking about peer mentoring as a class credit. That is a wonderful idea. Um, I think about some of those students that I know personally and how much that they do for that program, and in addition, are in a lot of other extracurriculars. So I think it's a great little bonus. I suspect that those students would do it anyway, but it would be nice to give them that credit that they can, you know, use toward graduation. And and then I was just I love that that we have some data now that is possibly showing that our schools are getting safer because of Character Strong. That is some really wonderful news, especially after last year and seeing the numbers continue to go up on behaviors. So, um, and then one last thing, I've I've been doing some research on gratitude, and I just wanted to add that gratitude actually is scientifically proven to help with your health as well.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I had the opportunity to go to the truck raffle closing ceremony. Stephanie, was that about 2 weeks ago, something like that, at City Motors? And it was fun to watch the teams who excelled in sales receive their awards and to feel good about themselves. And again, congratulations to you and the foundation for the great success on that endeavor. We really appreciate that. It was a lot of fun. And we've got a list of concerts that we can avail ourselves of, and Pirates of Penzance and athletic activities. Oh my goodness, this place is just so vibrant. And up on the screen are the meetings forthcoming. Put those in your calendars. And I wish everybody, not just those in this room, everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And with that being said, if there's no further business to come before this board, I would propose we adjourn. Thank you so much.